The beautiful era of the 90s, when people would sit in theaters and laugh like crazy. On the screen, one man twisted his face like rubber and made people forget the weight of their lives for a few moments. But the biggest irony was that the man who made the world laugh till their stomachs hurt spent his own nights soaked in tears. He shouted, "All right then," on screen, but inside his heart another voice echoed, "Is anyone hearing my screams?" This is the story of the uncrowned king of comedy whose face was just a mask for the world. But behind that mask lived a lonely, broken man. This is the story of Jim Carrey. On January 17, 1962, in a small Canadian town called Newmarket, Ontario, a boy was born named Jim Carrey, and childhood was anything but easy for him. His mother, Kathleen, would often disappear into sedation because of chronic illness and her dependence on painkillers, while his father, Percy, once a saxophone-playing musician, had to sit behind an accountant's desk just to keep the household running. To escape the tension at home, little Jim would spend hours in his room making funny faces in the mirror, trying to make himself laugh. In that process, he realized he had a gift, the ability to mimic people. And guess who his first audience was? His own parents. He always tried to make his sick mother laugh so she could forget the sadness of painkillers for a few minutes. Somewhere in that laughter, a dream was born, the dream to become a comedian. But the harsh truth of a middle-class family is that one sudden emergency can throw the whole family from the sky straight to the streets. And that emergency hit the Carrey family too. When Jim turned 12, Percy lost that safe accountant job, and the family's entire financial structure collapsed like a house of cards. Things got worse, and eventually the Carreys had to leave their home. For some time, the entire family spent nights inside a Volkswagen van. Jim and his brother even spent months living in a tent in a park near Lake Ontario. Imagine the Canadian cold and spending nights in a tent. Just the thought is spine-chilling. But Jim says strangely that during that time their family became even closer, and they learned to stay happy in the smallest of things. A little light appeared when Percy got a job as an accountant in a tire factory called Titan Wheels. They even got a small house, but in return Jim and his brother had to clean and guard the factory at night. From 6 p.m. to morning, they cleaned floors, cleaned toilets, and even did security duty. The boy who used to make everyone laugh no longer wanted to talk to anyone. He didn't want new friends. Yet Percy, being a super dad, never let Jim's dream die. At 15, he held Jim's hand and said, "Try going on stage once. You have a gift." That encouragement took Jim to a small Toronto comedy club called Yuk Yuk's. Jim picked up the mic, stood on stage, and started mimicking famous people, but the audience began booing. It wasn't just rejection. It was a tight slap on his dream. Until 1979, Jim kept working at the factory while polishing his act. His hard work paid off. He finally got a 20-minute slot at a small club, earning 20 Canadian dollars. Slowly, his name started spreading in Toronto's comedy circles. One day, a big comedian, Rodney Dangerfield, noticed him and was so impressed that he took Jim on tour as his opener. Imagine it, years ago, the boy who was booed off the stage was now performing alongside legends in America's comedy circuit. With that hope, at just 19, Jim moved to Hollywood, the city where dreams either come true or get crushed. His biggest goal was The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Carson was considered a kingmaker. If you succeeded on his show, your career was made. If you flopped, it was over. In 1983, Jim got a shot. But before the show, there was a test performance at the Improv in LA. He gave his best, but the audience reaction was cold. Next day, he got the call canceled. The dream slipped away like sand through his fingers. Sometime later, he got a sitcom called The Duck Factory with a lead role, but it got canceled after 13 episodes. The same rubber-faced talent that would later rule the world was now a curse. Most auditions ended with comments like "too much" or "he looks unreal." Then came a small opportunity, The Dead Pool, the final Dirty Harry film. Jim made an audition tape where he went absolutely wild, danced, smashed things, screamed, even spit at the camera. After sending it, he panicked, thinking he had ruined his career. But destiny had other plans. The tape reached Clint Eastwood, who loved it and even showed it to his friends. On set, he placed a hand on Jim's shoulder and said, "Good job, kid." Jim got a tiny role, a drug-addicted rock star who dies in the beginning. Exciting, but barely noticeable. Despite being in a big film, his life didn't change. Every night he drove up Mulholland Drive, looked at the city lights, and visualized his future success. To take this visualization further, around 1990, he did something unusual. He wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered and kept it in his wallet. A man who barely had money for food dared to dream that big. Remember that check. It will matter later. Soon Jim got a TV show in living color where his crazy characters made America laugh like never before. Roles like Fire Marshal Bill made him a household name. Then came 1994, the year that would etch Jim Carrey's name into Hollywood history. A script arrived, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. The makers had seen Jim's work in living color and wrote Ace specifically for him. But the studio hated the script and expected it to flop. Jim agreed to do it only if he could design Ace Ventura the way he wanted. And then the mad scientist inside him woke up. He created Ace's walk like a mix of a cartoon and a pigeon, delivered every line in an exaggerated style, and gave the world the legendary "All Right Then." In February '94, the film released. Critics slammed it, calling it childish and overacted. But audiences went crazy. The $15 million film earned $107 million. And overnight, Hollywood got a new comedy superstar. Still, many refused to take him seriously, thinking he was just a cartoon comedian who would fade away. But then came The Mask, based on a comic book, requiring a cartoon-like actor. No one could have played it better. Jim's expressions were so extreme that VFX artists said they barely had to change anything. Jim improvised lines like "smoking," which became iconic. This $23 million film made $351 million, yet people still doubted him. And then came the third strike, Dumb and Dumber. The studio didn't want Jeff Daniels, but Jim insisted that Daniels' straight man energy would elevate the comedy. And he was right, the duo became pure gold on screen. Jim even got his tooth gap ground down by a dentist to look dumber. The $17 million film made $247 million. Jim delivered 3 back-to-back blockbusters in 1 year. By end of 1994, he was the most in-demand actor in the world. Then came 1996, when he became the first comedy actor to receive $20 million for The Cable Guy. That $10 million check in his wallet had now manifested into reality. This was the law of attraction. Cable Guy was dark, ahead of its time, and audiences weren't ready. In 1997, he returned to classic comedy with Liar Liar, earning critical praise and a Golden Globe nomination. But instead of doing another comedy, Jim took a sharp turn and did the Truman Show, a role that shocked the world. People doubted he could do serious acting, but he proved everyone wrong. His portrayal of Truman earned him a Golden Globe, though the Oscars ignored him. The early 2000s were bright again, with hits like Me, Myself and Irene, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and Bruce Almighty. But behind the laughter, Jim was struggling. By the late 2000s, his personal life fell apart. 2 divorces, a broken engagement, and a string of flop films. He publicly admitted battling depression, saying antidepressants helped for a while, but weren't the real solution. The biggest tragedy struck in 2015 when his ex-girlfriend Catriona White died by suicide. Legal battles and guilt crushed him. He withdrew from public life, stopped attending premieres, and retreated into his art studio. Painting became his healing. In his 2017 short documentary, he said, "I needed color. Colors and brushes started healing me when nothing else could." Hollywood began feeling like a corporate circus where creativity was ruled by spreadsheets, and he felt suffocated. Occasionally, he returned like a cameo in Kick-Ass 2, though he refused to promote it due to its violence. In 2014, he revisited Dumb and Dumber for nostalgia. But his heart wasn't in Hollywood anymore. In 2017, he went viral at New York Fashion Week for saying, "None of this is real. We don't matter." He openly exposed the superficiality of the industry. On award stages, he spoke truths masked as jokes. Then came the pandemic year, 2020. When the world was sad and locked indoors, Jim returned as Dr. Robotnik in Sonic the Hedgehog, a goofy villain with pure 90s energy. The movie became a global hit even during lockdown. Critics said, "This is the Jim Carrey we missed." But in April 2022, Jim dropped a bomb. He said he was fairly serious about retiring unless a script written in gold ink comes along. Think about it: a boy who lived in a tent, dropped out of school, fought depression, wrote himself a fake $10 million check to keep his dream alive. That boy became the world's biggest comedy superstar. And when the world mocked him or Hollywood sidelined him, he still found his peace in colors, painting, and spirituality. His characters will forever live in the hearts of 90s kids. Jim taught us it's okay to be silly. Pain can be turned into art, and sometimes to find yourself, you must disappear for a while. Thank you, Jim, for making our childhood awesome.